American politics uh, loves Manichaeism. It loves
Yes.
Manichaeism, right?
Yes.
There's this side is all white and this side is nothing but black. And Christianity refuses to do that. Christianity is so radical on this point, it even refuses to say that Satan is nothing but pure evil, because Satan is a creature and therefore made by God, and therefore, to the degree that he retains existence, that he retains intellect, that he retains will, these are all good things that God made. And yes, they can be corrupted, uh, but if any being is purely evil, it would cease to exist because existence is a good. And so Christian theology is very subtle on this point. And one of the results of it, as a priest friend of mine pointed out to me, which again, this is one of those things like loving your enemies that it's just, I hated having to admit the truth of this because it just makes my life harder. But the reality is that he said, we often speak of someone who does evil. We say of them that the mask is off, that now we see what they're really made of when they do some evil thing. He says that is lousy theology. It's particularly lousy theology in the confessional. He says the reality is human beings are made in the image and likeness of God, and so at root, along with all other things that God has made, they are good. And there's, yes, of course, they're fallen. And when they sin, as Augustine puts it, they assert their nothingness. Um, but when people come into the confessional and confess their sins, that's when the mask comes off. That's when it's when their sin is forgiven and they enter into at least an attempted state of grace. They may be very bad at it, as are we all. Uh, but that's when the mask comes out. And when you walk out of the confessional, you're showing your true face. Your true face is when you are most truly the creature that God has made you to be, not when you put a mask on, because sin anonymizes. One of the remarkable things about the great sinners of history is at the end of the day, how boring they are. I mean, what always strikes me about, Hitler's histrionic speeches is, can you imagine having to listen to that bandsaw of a voice forever?
Mm.
What a drone. And I mean, great sinners always tend to be like that. Stalin famously remarked that one death is a tragedy and a million deaths is a statistic. Um, that when you lose touch with your humanity, you lose touch with what makes you interesting. Falling in
Mm.
love is interesting. When you see somebody's face and you fall in love with that person, that really is, you can just never get to the end of that.
Yeah.
And so great saints are endlessly fascinating because, they were fully human. And so that temptation, that Manichaean temptation, is something that really wants to work against that, to say,
Yes.
my enemy is nothing but
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. And believe me, I fall prey to that temptation as much as anybody does. It is so easy to do because what you want to do is you want to hurry past this threat and get to the good stuff that the future will surely bring once this threatening person is brushed out of the way, you
Yeah.
know?
And
Um,
that's exactly Francis's story where it's like, okay, hurry past the leper. Don't look at the leper, hurry
don't look at
past.
him. Yeah,
God's tugging him, no, get
yeah,
off your horse, give the
yeah,
leper an offering. No, that's not enough either. Like, look the leper in the eyes and give the leper the offering. That's not enough either. Hug the leper, embrace the leper, kiss the
yeah,
leper, share a meal with the leper. Let the leper become your brother in Christ. Actually, it's even more radical than that. It's, will you let yourself become the leper's brother in Christ, because the leper has it more figured out than you have it figured out.
yeah,
Like, that's it
yeah.
just, it flips everything on its head. And I think that's what something like the incarnation should do, is it should
Right.
just completely obliterate all your categories.